Hey y'all, I am just back from an amazing afternoon in Galway at the City Library where we had the book launch for Mental Health for Millennials, Volume 6 on Hope and Inclusion. And I'm very proud to be part of this collaboration with Book Hub Publishing. They're near and dear to my heart. They were my first publishers, and I was their first author many years ago. And so this is a really important series, which not only is written for millennials, but to help other people understand millennials and the age in which they have grown up, because we're all a part of it, and information is key, and the way that we love and treat one another is nothing but enhanced by having a better understanding of each other. So I just wanted to read my chapter. This is "The Soul's Journey is as unique as the individual soul" by me. It is with such a mixed bag of really cool emotions that I write this piece on hope and inclusion. I chose today, the first day of Pride Month, June 2022, to sit down and attempt to wax lyrical on a topic that is near and dear to my heart. As the head of diversity, inclusion, and equality for the small yet powerfully vociferous indie publishing house that is Book Hub Publishing, I am always searching for new ways to address age-old conflicts with fresh and thought-provoking perspectives. To be honest, I cringed a little when the theme I was given included hope. Like so many words which have been situationally hammered into mere shadows of their original meaning, I would tend to side with the prolific words of actor Jim Carrey when he addressed the graduating class of MIU in 2014. I don't believe in hope. Hope is a beggar. Hope walks through the fire and faith leaps over it. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts and worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here and the decisions we make this moment. Magic happens when you stop hoping and start knowing. Help other people evolve. I've also heard hope described as HOPE, help other people evolve. On first glance, it sounds good, like a nice phrase one might see on social media, superimposed over a picture of a pretty rainbow, or birds flying in perfect formation, or two hands expectantly clasped in unity. I can't say I really like what that implies, however, because right or wrong, I think evolution of the mind, the heart, and the process of awakening consciousness is an incredibly personal journey. The unfurling of an individual's understanding of diversity, inclusion, and equality is often a necessarily painful progression, both in the giving and the receiving. Recently, I had a terribly curious conversation with someone who had lost a significant amount of weight in the past few years. Laughing at the ridiculous nature of her own words, she explained that after working hard to achieve her ideal body size, she found herself exasperated, grossed out even, by fat people. The help other people evolve concept of providing hope to others who often ask how she lost the weight, by her own confession, irritates her. The expectation that all humans equally possess the same bandwidth or desire to help others is in itself a lofty aspiration. I pointed out what seemed to me to be the obvious. She had literally become the proverbial shoe on the other foot. I asked if it had occurred to her that others who considered themselves more fit, more vigilant with their diets, more diligent with body movement when she had been obese, might possibly have held the exact same feelings towards her that she now held towards those who were larger than her. Again, she laughed and assured me that she was certain this was the case. She regaled me with tales of when she had been teased, fat-shamed, and had a very poor sense of self-esteem due to her size. One might automatically assume that this experience, followed by her recent weight loss and boosted sense of positive body image, would naturally place her in the evolutionary position of cheerleader or motivator to those who wish to follow a similar path. It's interesting how we make those assumptions. It was in this revelation that the hope is a beggar statement really hit home for me. To assume that everyone who was picked last for the team has been on the receiving end of harsh judgments, bad behavior, careless whispers, or bullying will eventually mature and evolve into someone who is principled, supportive, and all-inclusive is in fact an act of folly, in my opinion. It creates an outside in expectation that happiness, self security, and feelings of belonging are things that rely on the tools and skills, or lack thereof, of a confused, hurt, fickle, and unpredictable population of fledgling postmodern human beings. 8 billion plus humans are currently working on 8 billion plus storylines, some similar, many very different, all with a variety of characters and situations: personal, generational, cultural, political, socioeconomic, stress causing, and privilege varied. To hope, assume even that the inevitable lessons of life will automatically cause one to take up a cause, donning the breastplate of righteousness, makes about as much sense as expecting a young child who has managed to add 2 plus 2 to instinctively move on to more advanced calculations. For some, 2 plus 2 is as much as they can manage within their inimitable circumstances. The soul's journey is as unique as the individual soul. In 30 years of working in metaphysics and 25 years as a doctor of chiropractic, I've come to realize that the soul's journey is as unique as the individual soul itself. Every single inhabitant of this beautiful planet of ours is here to experience, work through, implement, or discard a multitude of interactions, physical, emotional, and spiritual, inside a variety of perfectly orchestrated boxes. As we grow through some pleasurable and often horrible interactions during our time here on Earth, I think we've become a bit careless with our expectations that everyone can or should grow at the same rate. There are some in my years of experience of intimate one-on-one work with my fellow travelers who take a lifetime to execute a single or a series of lessons that may result in their understanding of what it means to be a compassionate and caring human. There are others who are able to release trauma, anger, guilt, or shame at a much more rapid pace. These individuals are far more likely to imbibe a sense of moral obligation to champion ideals such as the celebration of diversity or to strive to always be inclusive. Jim Carrey told his captive audience of promising new graduates that magic happens when you stop hoping and start knowing. I genuinely believe that this is one of the soundest pieces of advice I've ever heard. To know the world in which we live, to embrace the understanding that inclusion is not a given in any life scenario. This is where the magic begins. When people crave inclusion, it means that some part of them has yet to understand that acceptance, validation, confirmation, and support must first come from within. To adhere to the trauma of being on the outside, of not fitting in, of not being treated equally as one perceives others to be treated, can be a slippery slope. Imagine instead the brave soul who recognizes that every last morsel of experience in this world is based on the synergistic exchange of frequency and the energy we personally project into any given situation. Imagine the soul who dares to love itself, to honor its own unique journey, the one who encourages itself to risk hurt, isolation, and heartbreak in exchange for the possibility, the opportunity to love and be loved by others. By the ironclad universal laws of energetic and spiritual dynamics, said soul will begin to attract other people and experiences that are in alignment with the work they are willing to put in to make manifest their desires for inclusion and equality. Sometimes this happens slowly, but surely, and other times it happens at lightning speed. And voila, hope becomes knowing, like an alchemist turns lead into gold. My personality is such that I tend to always expect an amazing outcome to every challenge. My life to date, however, has redefined my definition of amazing. The least painful, easiest outcomes are sometimes the solution, but I have found that more so than not, the meat and potatoes are found within the difficult and the awkward. I was adjusting spines, healing with frequency, writing books about returning from death, and raising the children I had out of wedlock by myself in a foreign country. I know a little bit about exclusion. My livelihood was threatened by throwaway statements from medical professionals who knew nothing of my qualifications as a doctor. When I first began to realize that I had a child who was moving towards bisexuality, I was the one who became uncomfortable when we would read bedtime stories that inevitably ended with the happily ever after of a prince and a princess. Rather than gripe about the non inclusive nature of the old school fairy tales, I began writing a series of books in which every child could see themselves. It was only those uncomfortable feelings of exclusion that prompted me to create something new. The idea of wishing or hoping for a perfect world in which everyone can simply be who they are is to exclude the pivotal moments that are responsible for creating the momentum behind the changes we wish to see. Inclusion begins in the heart, then spreads into the everyday mannerisms and deeds of the individual, which in turn begins to generate its own powerful field of attraction, which opens up channels of grace and opportunity that would otherwise be unattainable. Mental Health for Millennials, available at bookhubpublishing.com.